Throughout history, few figures have struck as much fear into the hearts of their enemies as Attila the Hun. "If you had not committed great sins, God would not have sent a punishment like me." These chilling words uttered by Attila the Hun resonate through the annals of history, a testament to the terror he instilled across the Roman Empire. Darkness enveloped the 5th century as ancient civilizations found themselves teetering on the brink of annihilation, staving off a tide of ruthless invasions. This was a world where the once mighty Roman Empire, a beacon of stability and culture, grappled with relentless decay. Across its sprawling territories, corruption festered, and internal strife fractured its unity, rendering it vulnerable to the ceaseless advances of barbarian tribes. It was in this tumultuous crucible that Attila emerged, a figure whose very name invoked dread, and whose ambitions would forge the destiny of nations. The Huns, a nomadic warrior people of Central Asia, were transformed under Attila's leadership into a formidable force. With a striking contrast to the decadent city-states of Rome, the Huns thrived on a lifestyle of conquest and mobility. Attila was not merely a leader, he was a strategist whose acute intellect allowed him to exploit the vulnerabilities of his adversaries. As the Huns swept across the vast plains of Europe, they represented an existential threat, a force that would challenge the very foundation of Roman authority. The Huns' raids were swift, brutal, and executed with an efficiency that left their enemies in disarray. This era was not solely characterized by bloodshed, it marked an awakening, wherein civilizations mustered their strength to confront the impending doom. The world of the 5th century was marked by political fragmentation and socio-economic turmoil. The Western Roman Empire was a mosaic of competing interests, threatened from within and without. As barbarian tribes sought to carve their place in history, the unity that once defined Rome eroded under the weight of its ambitions. Attila's rise was not merely the ascent of a warlord, it was a convergence of history's forces, an embodiment of the interconnectedness of cultures grappling with change. His campaigns would soon become a reflection of the relentless tide of history, a tide that would sweep away empires and reshape the very landscape of civilization. In the early years of Attila's rise, the Huns were a disparate group of tribes, often at odds with one another. However, Attila was a unifier, a visionary who saw beyond the tribal divides. With a fierce resolve, he began consolidating power, rallying clans under a banner of shared ambition and survival. His intense charisma and strategic brilliance played a vital role in transforming the Huns from a collection of warring factions into a formidable force. It was no small feat, as tribal loyalty often ran deeper than any ideological unification. Attila's early campaigns were marked by both audacity and cunning. He understood the terrain and the psychology of his enemies better than they understood themselves. His strategy was not merely of brute force but of calculated intimidation. He did not always seek battle, rather, he often employed psychological warfare to achieve his ends. Towns and cities would surrender without a fight, paralyzed by the fear of the wrath that Attila was known to unleash upon those who resisted him. His first major foray into the heart of the Roman Empire occurred in 441 AD. The Huns had been raiding the borders of the Eastern Roman Empire for years, but now, with a substantial force assembled, Attila launched a full-scale invasion. As he marched through Thrace, the very ground trembled beneath the hooves of his cavalry. Towns that had once boasted of their military might capitulated before his relentless advance, unable to withstand the ferocity of his warriors. The Romans, largely unprepared for the sheer ferocity of Attila's onslaught, were left scrambling to mount a defense. The Eastern Roman Emperor, Theodosius II, was caught off guard, his legions overextended and lacking the cohesion that characterized their earlier successes. Attila's forces swept through the countryside, pillaging and burning cities, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. In this chaos, Attila was not merely a conqueror, he was also a symbol of the impending decline of Roman power. Despite the devastation, Attila's campaigns were not solely based on bloodshed. His encounters with Roman forces were often characterized by negotiations that preceded battles. For every city he besieged, there were offers sent to the Romans, laden with threats veiled as diplomacy. The Romans had a choice: pay tribute or face the bitter consequences of defiance. It was a cruel twist, for Attila was as much a diplomat as he was a warrior, wielding both pen and sword with equal finesse. In 445 AD, the Eastern Roman Empire finally recognized Attila's power by offering him a substantial tribute, a peace that was frail and marred by mutual distrust. Yet, this did not satiate Attila's ambition, rather, it fueled it, for he now saw himself not just as a barbarian king, but as an equal to the emperors of Rome. The tribute was not merely gold and silver, it represented recognition of his authority, a crown of legitimacy he intended to wear with pride. The subsequent years saw Attila continue to strengthen his domain, establishing a vast empire that connected the Huns with the tribes of the Germanic peoples. He forged alliances and exploited rivalries, expanding his influence as he crafted an intricate network of vassal states. Through marriage alliances and shared military ventures, he extended his reach across vast territories, creating an empire that would rival that of Rome itself. However, Attila's ambitions were not without their struggles. Relations with other tribes were often tenuous, rife with treachery and shifting loyalties. Paradoxically, his need for unity sometimes led to internal strife as ambitious chieftains vied for power among his ranks. Yet, each skirmish only served to reveal Attila's military ingenuity, as he quelled dissent with a blend of fear and respect, solidifying his grip on power. As the Huns approached the borders of Gaul, their conflict with the Western Roman Empire reached a boiling point. In 451 AD, Attila's armies clashed with a coalition of Roman and barbarian forces at the Battle of the Catalaunian Plains. This epic confrontation would become one of the most defining moments of his reign, showcasing not only his military prowess but also the high stakes of empire building in a world on the brink of collapse. His victory at the battle, though marred by tactical challenges, further solidified his fearsome reputation, echoing through the annals of history. In this relentless pursuit of power and dominance, Attila had become both a hero and a villain, a figure who inspired admiration for his military genius while simultaneously embodying the chaos that marked the twilight of empires. His journey was a profound reminder of the thin line that ambition walks, as empires continued to rise and fall in the shadow of his relentless march. The climax of Attila's life came in the year 451, as the East and West Roman empires stood united against him in the Battle of Chalons. On that blood-soaked field, the fate of empires hung precariously. The Huns, fiercely loyal to Attila, faced a coalition brought together by fear and desperation. As the sun rose on that fateful day, both sides braced for a confrontation that would not only determine their survival but reshape the future of Europe itself. Attila, known for his unyielding tactics and unmatched ferocity, rallied his warriors with promises of glory, a chance to carve their names in the annals of history. The air crackled with tension and anticipation, underscoring the stakes of the conflict. The conflict erupted with ferocity, and the clash was monumental. Attila's forces exhibited remarkable discipline and savage power, pushing the Romans to their limits. Each skirmish became a dance of life and death, a testament to Attila's relentless ambition. As his troops fought valiantly, the tide of battle surged, and for a moment, victory seemed within reach. However, a fierce counterattack led by the Roman general Flavius Aetius turned the tide back against Attila. In the end, despite their courage, the Huns retreated, marking a pivotal moment in Attila's campaign. This defeat did not signify the end of his ambition but rather a transformation. Attila returned to his realm, fueled not only by the fire of vengeance but also by a profound knowledge of the cost of ambition. The Battle of Chalons stands as a defining moment, illustrating the thin line between greatness and downfall that Attila navigated. Reflecting on Attila's life reveals a complex legacy. Though Attila fell, the echoes of his ambition and terror reverberated through history. He shaped the geopolitical landscape of his time, and his relentless march across Europe forced the powers of the day to reconsider their strategies, alliances, and ultimately their existence. In many ways, Attila was the embodiment of the era's chaos. His very name became synonymous with fear and destruction, but also, and perhaps paradoxically, with the raw power of ambition. He taught the world that ambition could forge empires, but also lay waste to them. The aftermath of his reign prompted crucial shifts that rippled through the centuries. the fall of the Western Roman Empire was hastened by the very fears he invoked. In today's world, we continue to witness the cyclical nature of power and downfall, reflecting the lessons ingrained in Attila's story. Ambition remains a driving force in our endeavors, yet it carries with it the potential for destruction. Attila's decisions illustrate the complexity of ambition, how it can lead to both incredible achievements and devastating failures. His legacy invites us to ponder the outcomes of our own ambitions, the scales on which they balance between creation and chaos, and the historical contexts that define success. As we navigate our own lives, Attila's story serves as a profound reminder of the potency of ambition. Are we driven by the desire to achieve greatness at any cost? Are we prepared for the consequences of our choices? In a world that often glorifies the pursuit of power, Attila's legacy compels us to reflect on the ethical implications of our ambitions. As we strive for our goals, let us be mindful of the lessons history imparts. Ambition can illuminate paths to greatness, yet it is a double-edged sword, capable of cutting down those who wield it without caution. The echoes of Attila's ambition should inspire us to harness our own drive responsibly, considering the broader impact of our aspirations on the world around us. In doing so, we may not only avoid the pitfalls he encountered but also become architects of a more balanced legacy, one that honors the ambition essential for progress while recognizing the humility necessary to wield it wisely.